Hello ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go through game number 4. I wanted to tell you guys once again that everything that is said in these videos is also on Spotify, I think also on Apple Podcasts, but I don't have an iPhone or any Apple product, so I can't really check. So if you find it there, please let me know. But I had like this little notification on my Gmail that it's been accepted. And it should be also on Google Podcasts and also Pandora. I don't know what people use, but I think that's a good base. So for people that are listening to my voice as they are going to sleep or driving in a car, you have more options than to eat up all your bandwidth through video, which is cool, which is nice. It's also ad-free, so that's cool too. Yeah, but I don't care too much about revenue. I just want to get my voice out there. Today, I want to admit that I feel a little bit extra tired. I think the days of waking up early is definitely catching up to me. Today, I'm not planning to review any games. I'm just going to summarize some of the drafts, some quick thoughts, and some ideas coming into the next day. We are going to review tomorrow a couple of the games that we saw today, especially maybe TSM versus LGD, GENG versus Fnatic was a banger, and G2 versus Team Liquid was also interesting. I think a lot of the viewers here are European fans and NA fans, so it was definitely a fun one. The G2 review will be quick, so why not? Yeah, today was interesting. On the topic of G2, I think a lot of people are asking the question, can Jankos play these junglers? And to be fair, Jankos has made some individual mistakes, that's what I would call them. He has invaded at the wrong time. I think he has made some pathing choices that are regrettable. Today, I think when he's playing Nidalee and he dies level 1 and loses his red and has no option of invading the enemy side, I think there is very little recovery for Jankos in this game. I think mechanically in team fights yesterday when he played against Machi X Esports looked decent. Once again in that game, he was also killed by the Graves, and I think Machi X and Gemini made a good concentrated effort to deny him that and kill him. And then of course the first game they played against Suning, SoFM also put on a clinic. But jungle is a very intricate and delicate role that requires a lot of precision from your teammates, especially in a meta where all your laners are supposed to play for you. And I don't think the question is ever, can a player mechanically play a champion like Evelynn or Nidalee or Graves? Because I don't think it's that difficult. I honestly don't think it's that hard. I think it's just about the mindset that your team is in and that you're in. And that mindset is, of course, very, very different. G2 historically have always played for the lanes, and the lanes have played in a very particular manner, and it's obvious that G2 have practiced this particular style, and it is far from clean. I think this is not me trying to bullshit you or trying to cover up the fact that there are indeed some issues that were showing in these 3 games. We'll just have to pay attention to it. I just wanted to bring up the conversation that it's a team-wide thing, how you are supposed to deal with the current jungle meta. That's just an important point to make, because people are pointing fingers and saying jungle gap. Like, for example, Canyon, the way his team plays around his decisions is goals. Hashtag relationship goals. Yay. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, I associate that hashtag with people that would say yay. Canyon, fantastic. Casa, synergy with the lanes and how he wants to play the game, also fantastic. But let's jump into the game, first game of today. So what was confusing to me about this one was, so G2 went with the plan of banning top laners. Like if I think of G2 and how good Wunder is, I wouldn't rush to do this. I think any of these champions, Shen, Mordekaiser, Ornn, these are champions that Wunder is so well equipped to deal with. This felt like G2 went with what they've been doing in scrims and what they've learned from scrims instead of doing what G2 does best, and that is adjust to their enemy. They went for this Renekton strategy, and these 3 bans, you could argue that they paid off because Renekton was winning against Volibear pretty hard, and that is where G2 had any kind of lead, but the issues came from the other sides of the map. So G2 went for this idea where they knew that, of course, Nidalee wouldn't be picked on 1-2. They knew that Graves would be the one chosen, and they knew with these 3 bans and Camille also out that Volibear would be the go-to choice for Team Liquid. I like the Lucian ban, I like the Camille ban, and I like the Twisted Fate ban. They kept the game within their wheelhouse. Now let's be honest, this is a Volibear that did practically nothing. And that's okay. That's okay in some games. It isn't something that is problematic as long as you're winning hard enough on the other side of the map. And this is what Team Liquid accomplished. As long as Volibear is not feeding the enemy Nidalee, giving her a way back into the game, it doesn't matter. You can contrast this Volibear performance to Solo's Renekton. If Solo's Renekton just gave up a couple of CS and didn't die to the Graves, that game FlyQuest played against Unicorns of Love would have been very, very difficult to deal with. Nevertheless, they went for Volibear because they wanted to leave 3rd pick open in case where there's a potential mid counter pick or a AD carry counter pick. We like it either way. Nidalee and Ashe gets locked in. This is something that I don't know how I feel about Ashe, because I think there are spots where she is not that great, and I think especially, in this case when Kalista was locked into Ashe, I was kind of surprised. I was a bit taken away because it didn't come out like Ashe into Kalista, in my eyes, is a good matchup for Ashe. But Team Liquid carefully crafted this plan and had a lot of faith in Tactical's Kalista. I think a lot of Kalista matchups turn into skill matchups if your Kalista player is good enough, and Tactical is a fantastic Kalista. So they went for the Kalista. I think in other cases, I would probably look to go for the Orianna 3rd here for Jensen. I think Orianna as a champion is a very, very high quality pick, and I think maybe the fear is that Kalista is going to ban 2nd wave if they go for that Orianna, because Kalista is something that is a target ban, of course, against Tactical. They would probably ban Kalista and Twitch, and then G2 would be playing exactly in their wheelhouse. So the Kalista gets taken away. No problem. Tahm Kench gets banned, Pantheon gets banned. Now this is where everything gets a little bit confusing for me. Leona as an answer to Tahm ban, okay. Set 4th pick. Okay, we like it. It was a good denial because we aren't sure if the enemy mid laner in caps knows how to play Set. Set would be the perfect synergy for Nidalee, and Set Kalista is a very powerful lane that has a lot of agency from 1, 2, 3. The key thing to note here is already Kalista Set Graves, that is a monster level 1. We've seen enough of games at World Championships. I say at World Championships because this is always the same cycle when we come to Worlds. Level 1s become so important, and Set, Kalista, Graves are very, very powerful, all of them in the level 1. And that is where the Alistar comes in. Alistar interacts well with Kalista, but there are so many small parts in the game that Alistar is weak in. So Alistar is terrible level 1, he's terrible level 2 in a lot of cases because of how weak he is level 1, so that problem snowballs on to level 2 and often level 3. So these are terms and situations that you can dictate 100%. Ashe Alistar is okay against Kalista Set, but I think Kalista Set should be winning. Jace gets also locked in, which was surprising to me, very surprising to me. The idea is that you pick an AD jungler together with Nidalee, but I think the Syndra ban was just off. When I think of Jensen and the mid lane bans that he drew, most of the time in the LCS was always Orianna. I think Orianna is something that Jensen is very, very competent on, and it felt almost disrespectful that Team Liquid were allowed to place themselves in that Orianna Graves situation. Of course, there was a game where Team Liquid against Machi X lost. That was against the Volibear Syndra combination. They found the gank onto Jensen, and then it quickly got shut down. But in a world where, you look at Team Liquid as a whole, they were given a lot of key pieces in the Graves and the Orianna. But I did like that Team Liquid went for the Kalista set. Because if you take a look at the segment that I did on the analyst desk coming into this game, my big point was that they need to make sure that they have a strong bot lane matchup to make sure that CodeJJ can impact the map. And oh boy, did he impact the map. Level 1, they killed Nidalee and they stole the red buff, and it was a situation where Nidalee, already from level 1, was completely suffocated. This was a very, very big problem. Like if you're playing the composition that G2's playing and you fall behind from level 1, you're going to have a very, very hard time. The additional effect of this was, of course, that Alistar actually burnt Flash, and Flash is key in terms of how much pressure you have as an Alistar. And Kalista managed to get the first blood. She had the Cutlass first base, and then the Cutlass against, of course, Berserk Greaves and Longsword is losing for Ashe. And just because of that, Team Liquid had full control over bot side. I recommend that you go back and take a look at that game and look at how beautifully CodeJJ actually controls the whole river. The tricky thing was always that CodeJJ was almost never showing, and the pink ward placement was quite beautiful. Set was in Fog of War, which meant that Alistar and Ashe could not pressure Kalista because they would lose in an all-in, and CodeJJ was always hovering around mid lane, which meant that Jace couldn't fight in the moment where he's strong. The moment Orianna reaches a couple of items for free, there is no turning back, which meant that we had a very beautiful game on our hands. This pressure continued. They picked up a couple of kills, they picked up advantages on Graves. CodeJJ and Tactical kept snowballing their advantage. Orianna was in a very healthy state, and we mentioned before already that Team Liquid's composition is going to have an easier time later on in the game if G2 don't find any major advantages. The itemization is going to be very straightforward. You can buy a couple of armor items. Graves is going to be very durable. He has targets to hit. In a lot of Graves games that he loses is when he's playing against, he's playing against a lot of melee champions, so Graves can shoot them, and he's not playing against a lot of kite compositions that we've seen with the Kindreds and the Syndras, and that this is spots where Graves looks rather useless in fights. And there was this big moment in the game where G2 went to swap for the Herald. I understand that people were very shocked by this, but I understood the decision. Keep in mind I'm tired, so maybe I'm remembering this wrong. We're going to review this together on the channel. I remember that Kalista had Blade Ruin King advantage over Ashe, and that is a very terrible position because Ashe and Alistar is not going to have any prior or tempo ever again. And there is a world where Team Liquid still get first tower and G2 gain nothing out of it. I think in a world where they continue to lane, I think they're going to lose full push. Set is going to go into mid. They're going to pick up Herald completely for free, and there's going to be no return damage from G2. And I think G2 just took the one time they had tempo when Kalista was basing for Blade to swap into topside and make sure that there is some kind of trade in place. Because in my eyes there, I think that the train had already sailed for any potential Volibear dives because the control over mid together with Set and Graves was already too big. So everyone was like, oh, this swap means that the game is over. I think the game was over already before that, because the swap was kind of, just a way to trade towers. Because I think the towers would fall regardless. I think Team Liquid, when they're ahead, I think they are very precise. I think they're a good team when they're ahead. And when the compositions are this polarizing, I think Team Liquid were in a dominant position for the entire game. Very smart level 1, very good continuation for set. Any fights that G2, you could see that they found some scrappy opportunities, but Orianna with the ultimates and the shockwaves and how durable Set was with his armor items, it just made for some easy fights for Team Liquid because they were ready to follow up. So if we look at G2 and what they need to change, I don't think it's time to raise the alarm. We know that this was a possibility with G2. I even took the gamble that they're going to lose against MachiX. I thought, against TL, they're going to be cool. This was the right one to burger flip. We've been talking on the channel about, G2's, odds of losing best of ones tends to be, up and down. I think also their draft and their level 1 made this game very difficult to play from minute 2 already. I think Team Liquid do deserve props for punishing that hard. I think Core JJ, his play was really, really beautiful. And I think Core JJ has continued to impress. And I think in the conversation of top 5 supports, I think Mickey and Core JJ make a very, very strong case for themselves because Mickey has been very, very good in this tournament. I think Wunder's form is looking good, and I think Caps today on the Jace looked very poor. Jensen was the better performer, which is something that I didn't think I would say, if I'm going to be completely honest. And that's cool. We'll have to see how G2 advance in their progression of Nidalee. But it worries me, in the context of G2 in a best of 5 against a Damwon and a top esports. I think in the current form, there is very little hope. But the same thing can be said for any Western team. We will have some conversations about Fnatic, but that is going to be later in this video when we indeed talk about their match, which is the 5th game. But I think enough about G2 Team Liquid. We're going to review it and go in depth. Tomorrow, Suning versus MachiX. So this was 369 advertisement for Jax. I think Godfist Jax definitely sold a couple of skins off of this game alone. Suning showed that Nidalee is playable for SuFM. He doesn't only play Lee Sin and such. I think he played Nidalee yesterday too. This was nothing new, but Nidalee gets picked, Volibear Ashe gets locked in, and it's so strange because this is a Jax blind pick, which is nuts, right? Which is absolutely crazy. I think Jax blind pick is mental, and your answer being Shen into it is kind of cringe, if I'm going to be honest. It's kind of weird. I think you can do better than that. I think it's a matchup that Jax is perfectly happy to get, considering he blind picked. Because this is Volibear can go jungle, right? And he did. Volibear can go jungle. And Shen is your choice? I don't know, Kevin. I think you can go deeper into the draft. I didn't understand the purpose of the Shen. Pretty strange. I don't know how to shape an opinion around this because it's so strange. I really don't know, Kevin. Especially considering your other choices. So Shen has some crazy synergy here. There's very little synergy here. Shen Azir, that's not an exciting combo in my ears. Shen Volibear, I don't know, man. If you ask me what I would pick, you can go for there's many picks that are good into Jax. You can go Malphite. Malphite's good into Jax. You can go Lulu. You can go Singed. There's many champions that are good. What else? Rumble, Cannon. Just go Cannon. Cannon would be nice, I think. More the more than no. More than no. I think Fiora also skill matchup. How does Maokai do into Jax? I think winnable for Maokai. But with time, Jax wins. But I like more fight. Vladimir, no. Anyhow, Jace also can win, yeah. Yeah, there's many champions that counter Jax. Doesn't Akali counter Jax? Yeah, that's also a good one. Also a good one. Akali would have been very nice here. Akali is a good shout. Ilaoi, I think, should win. Maybe, I don't know. We have enough champions, right? Not Shen, yeah? We don't have to pick Shen. That's the key thing. And whoever said Mordekaiser also a little bit of less weed in your diet. I'm just kidding. Okay, we continue. Let me just find the screen again with the drafts. Okay. This game, I think when it comes to the draft, Jax is going to win split against Shen with time, and also the 4 champions on blue side are so good into the champs that are seen on red side. Bard is a very neat pick into Azir and Ashe, and on top of that, you know, Bard is something that can buy Mikaels. Mikaels is a very strong item against Ashe. You know, like, Shen can win against Jax, don't get me wrong, guys. It can. Like, it's not like it's completely one-sided matchup for Jax. But I just don't understand Shen in context with everything else that's picked here. That's what's weird. Shen Azir. I don't know, man. It's just weird. Very, very strange. Like, you have Shen, Azir, Volibear. Like, these champions are just not so good together. And I think the 4, Ezreal, Bard, Syndra, Nidalee, completely counters the 4 of the enemy. The moment you get Mikaels, it is just lost in the 4v4. So, I don't know. Like, I would enjoy, for example, Akali 3rd, and then maybe you have Akali Shen, and then you have Akali into Syndra. That would be interesting. But it seems, off of this game alone, that mission is just a very heavy, you know, a very, very heavy mage player. But Jax was getting kills in 1v2s and 1v3s, and I think Suning, you know, the Ezreal Bard was just holding on too well, and Ezreal Bard Syndra just killed. I think everyone's hyping up the Jax in this situation, but I think just the 4 is so much stronger than the enemy 4. Like, the engage is so easy to deny, they have better poke, better range, and there is no chance in hell that you're ever going to find a fight the moment Mikaels has been reached for Bard. So even though Jax was exciting in this game, I think the 4 of Suning were just so superior. I didn't feel like Suning ever had anything to be nervous about. Yeah, Singed is probably my favorite counter to Jax. I really enjoy playing that matchup because it really feels like you are bullying someone when you're playing it. Why did so many people place Suning as first place in Group A? They look so shaky. They look shaky to you? Really? I would beg to differ. I think they looked shaky against G2, but that was the first game for everyone, so that game was very, very wild. But all in all, I feel like Suning looks like the strongest team in Group A. I think Suning in the rematch against G2 can definitely beat them. I think this was a pretty one-sided affair. I don't think Machi X Esports I keep thinking it's Ex Machina. Yeah, Suning is a strong team. We continue. Jack's blinds is a baller move. I don't know, man. I say Ex Machina and you say someone's watching too much anime. Yeah. I think you're watching too much anime. Because I don't know how you made that connection, my friend. Also, Shen gave up the volley flex. Yeah. But you don't want to send Voidbrain to Jax. Why can you highlight messages when Yamato doesn't even read them? Well, it was one of the points, so who cares? It's like a way of making my eyes hurt. DRX versus Fly. So I am in disagreement about the idea that this game was close. I didn't feel like this game was close. I don't think a world where Caitlyn is 60 CS up, 5 platings up, that the game is close. Especially when DRX scales better. So Kindred has been a pick that has rised, or it rose, it's raising. I'm just going to skip that word. I don't know how to bend it like Beckham. I'm just going to say that Kindred is now higher priority. And as a pick into Graves. So in isolation, in fights, Kindred is good against what Graves wants to accomplish. Graves is very short range. He's borderline bruiser. He's a bruiser. He of course has some range abilities, but he's very short range in order for you to achieve maximum efficiency on this champion. And you think about Ornn as well. Something that, of course, Kindred is happy to play against. Anything that forces and is very, very, oomph in terms of the ult. If you look at the comp, Ornn, Graves, Orianna, the Kindred ultimate is going to, be fine here. It's going to be fine. And I think Graves, Pantheon, Ornn, these are 3 champions that Kindred is happy to play against. And this is a moment where Kindred is going to find value because his comp is outraging the enemy comp. If you think for Fly, how are they supposed to kill the Caitlyn? It is very, very difficult. An Ornn ult needs to land, and then the Orianna ult needs to land, and then they need to get through the Kindred ult. So this is the tricky part. Especially in a world where Caitlyn Lux is so far ahead. So an approach for FlyQuest this game could have been, we're going to spam gank bottom. But the thing is, they did. They got the gank off when I think Korea and Deft, I was about to say Ruler, Korea and Deft could have prevented the gank because they had so much information on the map, something that the LCK teams do so well. Not only Damwon is, their use of side wards and how it is connected within the game. This gank that happened on Korea that he died from with the Pantheon and the Graves was good, but it had no impact at all in terms of how the matchup played out. This matchup was very, very one-sided, and Caitlyn Lux was so goddamn far ahead. Sure, there is a world where FlyQuest have better chances if they don't fight for the second Rift Herald for absolutely no reason, which definitely put them in a coffin, and like they put themselves in a coffin, and then they were like, here are the nails, here's a hammer, please, please, shut this door. In a world where that Rift Herald doesn't happen, maybe there's a world where they have, some better chances to get that Soul Drake. But I think their position was definitely a lot worse in the game. A lot worse in the game. Caitlyn Lux, Maokai, Kindred, these are champions that scale insanely well. I was a bit surprised by some of the mistakes that happened. I was a bit taken aback by Maokai dying and how little freedom Zoe had to play the game. But it felt in control, for the most part. We could have had maybe an epic fight around the dragon, but I think on paper, DRX were very, very favored. I'm recording something, Elena. What is it? I was just going to double check to make sure that everything is okay. So forgive me. Grab some water. Give me a second. All right, where did we leave off? So I was talking about how Caitlyn, Lux, and Maokai and Kindred are going to scale so well into this game. And by the time the Soul Drake fight happened, Caitlyn was already on 3 core. Kindred was buying the right items, even though Black Cleaver maybe would have been like okay here. And then DRX won out. And I didn't think it was as close as the casters made it out to be. It was an okay fight. It was closer than I thought it would be in terms of the matchups, but I didn't feel like DRX would lose that at any point in time. To each their own. All right, Topies versus Unicorns of Love. So this one was confusing. This was, I call this draft the conflict of two minds. Very strange. So we had a situation where, Topies was banned Swain, Cassidy, and Renekton. They kept it simple, first pick Lucian. Arguable to leave the first pick Lucian, but they banned AD carries. Banning AD carries and leaving Senna open after what Jackie Love did yesterday. Jackie Love yesterday had like the best Senna performance that I've ever seen from a Senna. That was DJ Nasty remix of Nasty. So Lucian gets first pick. Don't leave Lucian, I think. Syndra Camille. No Lilia pick here was interesting for top esports. They went Gragas Jax, 369 Jax, LPL Jax. All about it. And Karthus third pick. And I was like, Karthus jungle into Gragas. Interesting. And AD carry hasn't been chosen. So you can be the one picking Senna fourth. Is this what you planned all along? Was this your idea all along? I was like, okay, we got something here. Unicorns of Love showing some creativity. They went for Nautilus with the Leona Pantheon ban. Enemy takes Senna. I was like, where are you going with this? Well, what AD carry are you picking here? What is good with Nautilus? What's happening? Yeah? No idea. I was lost here. I was like, what AD carry are you picking? Senna Tam. And giving Senna Tam, why would you do that? Senna Tam is so good into your first three. Well, why would you do such a thing? Syndra, Camille, Karthus, enemy Senna Tam. Senna loves to play against Karthus. You have healing, you have shields, you can deny the ultimate and prevent a snowball completely. Completely. Tahm Kench also. Tahm against Camille, Tahm is happy. Tahm against Syndra has some value. Why are you giving the Senna away here? And then it all made sense. All of this hard work for Lee Sin on 5 pick. And I guess the idea is that Karthus is going to be bot, and then Lee Sin has good burst, Camille has good all-in, and then Karthus is going to ult. But the problem is Senna is also going to ult. And at the same time, what is Karthus going to do against Senna in lane? Like, I've never seen that matchup. But let's theorize. Karthus has decent range on his Q. It's not bad. But what happens when Tahm and Senna begin to walk forward? And a slow lands, and Karthus is slowed with his shitty move speed. Yeah, okay. Top Esports way better than Unicorns of Love, and if Top Esports is in a position where they have a better draft too, I think the story speaks for itself. Yeah, I think we can move on. Disappointing, to say the least. I hate to bring up Mad Lions, but so once again, it ties into Mad Lions losing against Supermassive and Supermassive getting pounded by Unicorns of Love. And then Unicorns of Love now dropping every single game. It definitely, puts some things in perspective and makes my prediction of Mad Lions even more hilarious. I did the mistake of thinking about scrims results, because I heard good things about Mad Lion scrims. But I abaya. A lesson for all of us. Fnatic versus GENG. What a game. What a game. This was Fnatic's bot lane, 1v9ing. I don't know what got into life, but it was lack of life. Because he died a lot. Very, very much. I think it was very confusing. I have nothing else to add, man. Exhaust Ignite was strange, and Senna Leona punished super hard and got super, super far ahead. And this gave Graves the easiest. He was just going bot and picking up money bags. The key thing I want to focus on here is I really liked Fnatic's draft. I felt like Fnatic recognized that, we can just pick up Ornn, and we can pick champions that are decent team fighters and be in a healthy and good state. I very much enjoyed that. I like this Fnatic draft. I think if you compare this Fnatic draft to this Fnatic draft, this one was a big yikes. Like, what on earth is this? Very, very strange. Holy. So this was good adaptation. Fnatic have the experience to do so. And here their composition is very well rounded. The only worry would potentially be, early game situations. How is Graves going to find Prio and something to play on? But Senna and Leona should have Prio into Ezreal and Rakan, and they had more than just Prio. They had Prio in all caps, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. This game, I felt like GENG found some good opportunities and definitely punished Fnatic when they overextended. I think Bwipo has too much of a mentality to stay on the turrets. Like sometimes it's good to stay on the tower and sacrifice your wave, sacrifice yourself for the wave, but in some situations you shouldn't. And Bwipo has kind of decided that he's never gonna give up. And he died a couple of times. There were some TP plays that GENG did to recover a bit of the gold, but it felt like the damage had been done already. Ezreal was too far behind the curve, and his items kind of came in late. If we take a look at this draft and what we think about this draft, I don't see GENG as a super strong topside team. I think in some situations, Nidalee versus Renekton can work against Ornn Graves, but I think in the context of what GENG is as a team, I really don't think they should be the ones drafting this. I think there are some teams that are using Ornn as a crutch, and I think that's anyone that really is in Damwon and Top Esports and maybe JDG right now, and maybe G2. But here, going for Renekton Nidalee, in some cases it can work, but Ornn and Graves can definitely contest that. GENG as a team, I see them as a team that just goes for 2v2 mids into bottom side, and every time the draft aligns with that, I think GENG looks like a very powerful team. When it doesn't, I think some question marks are raised within that sphere. It was also, extra sad for GENG that as they're trying to create some advantages in the top side, their bot lane has been annihilated harder than I've seen GENG ever get annihilated in bot side, which was strange, very strange. And as time is Fnatic's friend, they had significant leads. Even though they threw a little bit, there was this big fight around the mid lane that started off kind of strange. I thought Fnatic were going to lose it considering their position, but at that point, Orianna was too strong, and Ornn was too strong, Graves was too strong. Every one of them had, the gold was in all of the right places. Azir is a BDD special. I think it's okay into Orianna. Ezreal also is a ruler preference. Ruler is one of the best Ezreals in the world, but at the same time, the strange thing about Ezreal is that it just doesn't fit with the idea of how I would view GENG, because Ezreal is often the weak side bot lane, and it feels like GENG sometimes try to be more than they actually are, but I feel like maybe that ship has sailed already. If the game is about bot and snowballing bot and doing it through mid into bot, GENG dangerous. Other games, not so much. I think in this match, Azir had a lot of opportunities, and we're going to look at it in the review. There were moments where I was very surprised that Nemesis didn't contest waves. He could contest waves, like Selfmade was around mid lane, and he just chose not to, which gave Azir a lot of opportunities to impact the map. Nemesis was just farming away, and eventually, he had, good items and was very strong. But I think that's still a very big weakness that might be exploited, especially in quarters if Fnatic get through. Because in this group, I think Fnatic is looking like a solid second place. Ruler has been very bad in group stage. He was way better than this in LCK Summer, was a comment that I'm now reading. I want to remind everyone that Ruler has, I think, some form of an ear infection. So he's not in ideal conditions. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, and I'm sure he's doing his absolute best, but let's keep in mind that he's not completely healthy. I don't know if Fnatic will be able to replicate this because GENG showed a lot of class in this, and I think BDD definitely played better than Nemesis in this one in terms of how much he impacted the map. BDD's performance was something that we hoped out of, for example, a Bjergsen, but of course I rated BDD as the best mid laner in this group. Ruler has otitis media in his right ear. He is bleeding from it as well. Now that is a wild name. Let's just check out, let's just Google that real quick. Maybe we can describe it. Otitis media is a group of inflammatory diseases of the middle ear. The two main types are acute otitis media and otitis media with effusion. AOM is an infection of rapid onset that usually presents with ear pain. Well, I don't know which form of otitis media he has, but I wish Ruler a speedy recovery. I think that's rough, very, very rough. So I think we should take Ruler's performance with a grain of salt. And even about today, I don't know if I can really blame him. That was a messy game, very messy game. I've had an ear infection in the past. I don't know if it was anything close to this, but I had a light one, and that really, really affected everything that I want to do in life, And I got antibiotics and so forth, but nevertheless, I don't want to speculate anymore. Fnatic GENG, I don't know if they can replicate this. I really don't know. I think there was a lot of comfort on the table here. Well, not a lot, but I think the Orianna of Nemesis, I think when Lucian Orianna, we get to see a different Nemesis, and that is still the question for a lot of these players. Same with Jensen, Orianna when Orianna's out. Same with Nemesis, Lucian Orianna out. What's going to happen with Broxah, Graves out? These are some of the questions that I need an answer to. Because I think here everything aligned for Fnatic beautifully to win out this game. But I think they did a lot of good things as well. The dives on bottom and the usage of some of their TPs. I was just very disappointed with the level of Nemesis, how he was contesting mid when he had opportunities to do so. I don't know if it's a self-made decision or Nemesis decision, but it's definitely just a weakness of Fnatic when Azir can run quite rampant on the map. But still, I think this is a step in the right direction for Fnatic. And I think this is the step in the direction that Fnatic needed to do in order to be, true to the prediction I made. Second place in this group. G2 should have banned Graves versus Liquid. Yeah, I think, in hindsight, banning top laners when you have Wunder, which... Wunder is a great performer in the tournament. And I think Wunder is a better player than Impact. Respect for Impact, but I think Wunder is a better player. And using 3 bans to get yourself in a Renekton Volibear matchup, I think you can give him any matchup, and I think it will be fine. If you ban Graves, Orianna here, and then maybe Ornn, if enemy picks Shen, just fucking gangplank it up or something, you're good. TSM versus LGD. So, similar to Fnatic, it seemed like TSM took a step back and took a look at what they need to do in order to showcase their strengths in this group. And Kindred, Nidalee, Ornn were good bans against LGD. I think these are bans that I would myself consider in such a position. They went for the first pick Graves to deny LGD's access to the third jungler that they like to play, and the Lilia third pick. Lilia, when Peanut played it, wasn't the strongest. He had some memes made about him, and it wasn't, the greatest. But anyhow, Graves, enemy picks Renekton and Senna. I was surprised by the Shen, honestly. I was surprised by the Shen. I thought they would be able to go deeper, because I wanted to see a world where TSM play for a heavy topside game. Shen makes it into not so heavy topside game. So this game was extra tricky because LGD's laners are just good. She is a good player. She is a great player. I know that everyone had some question marks over Shea. He's had some games that are not that good, but she is a good player. And Orianna versus LeBlanc 1v1 is winning for Orianna. But of course she needs to consider the potential gank options. But I think the moment Ezreal Bard die 2v2 and Senna Nautilus can impact mid, I think that nullifies a lot of the things that TSM wanted to accomplish. And I didn't feel like the level of precision or activity was good enough. Like in this game, I straight up felt like LGD was just better. And my memory fails me because I'm trying to remember the key moments of the game. Let me just open it up real quick and scroll through. Maybe it wakes up my imagination. Forgive me for the sloppiness of this video, but as I mentioned before, I am quite tired. So I hope you can take it easy with me. So LeBlanc as a champion is definitely not so good in the meta. LeBlanc Graves is not a strong 2v2 by any stretch of the imagination. LeBlanc Graves want to accomplish completely different things. So that's already awkward, Very, very odd. Graves wants to farm, and Graves wants a mid laner that plays for him. LeBlanc wants a jungler that doesn't need farm and can only play for LeBlanc. So LeBlanc is only relevant in metas where Lee Sin is relevant, where maybe Volibear or Set are relevant. I don't think LeBlanc was such a selfish pick. I think this was TSM's attempt at just doing what they know. I think the double kill on bottom against Ezreal Bard is something that you just can't it just can't happen. I think Nautilus and Senna having complete freedom in this game definitely suffocated any of the plans that TSM wanted to do. And the TSM plan isn't ironclad in the first place. Graves, Shen, LeBlanc, just Graves, LeBlanc isn't the strongest 2v2 combination. So let me just open TSM vs HD real quick, and I'm just gonna scroll through it, and I'll talk to you guys while I'm doing it. La da da da, la di di di. So we had the duo kill on bottom. That one was nasty. And then with the prior bottom, if I remember correctly, LGD were contesting the map. We'll just review it, the game. Whatever. I think you guys won't be too mad at me, right? You won't be too mad at me. So at the Ezreal Bard, okay. Ezreal Bard, I think when they are playing weak side, are very strong champions. I think they almost always have usefulness when it comes to, impacting the map. But Nautilus Senna getting solo kill, super big deal. very important. Shen is not going to be that useful into ulting bottom side. Shen wants to play with Graves and LeBlanc and find situations. Ezreal, Nautilus, Senna, hovered into mid. I think the biggest issue with TSM's draft is just the Graves LeBlanc synergy. I think Graves LeBlanc synergy I don't like too much. And if you think about TSM and how they are as a team, maybe the Shen isn't the greatest look. But this composition is all about making sure that LeBlanc is ahead, and you want to use Bard to facilitate that, which is possible. If you have Bard, Shen, Graves playing for LeBlanc, then this game is definitely something that is winnable. LeBlanc, if she is ahead and super fed, can definitely carry a game that looks like this. But it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. I don't think this was some tragic TSM draft where, wow, they had no chance coming out of the game. No, I just felt like LGD played better. I don't think Shen is a counter to Renekton. I think that's a bit weird. I was like, is this Shen jungle? Shen jungle, Graves top. Graves top into Renekton. Is that the dark technology? I thought maybe that was an idea. But it didn't happen. Ezreal Bard, I don't mind. This was the first time we saw Doublelift in the tournament on something else, but not Senna, and they got 2v2 killed. So that was sad. Orianna wins 1v1 against LeBlanc. And Renekton had prior top, could push, and I feel like defusing the plan becomes so easy the moment the double kill happens on bottom. Like, you need to make very intelligent sacrifices on Bard and Graves in order to snowball the LeBlanc against Orianna. But making intelligent sacrifices is so counterintuitive to what Graves wants to do. When we were practicing LeBlanc with, for example, Vitality, so Juzuki Great LeBlanc, the idea that we really cemented was that the jungler cannot allow himself to be too predictable. The engage distance of LeBlanc and her ability to latch on a chain to almost any mage is unmatched. So it's all about gang pressure. All about gang pressure. And Graves can't accommodate that. We're going to review this game to look closer on the fine print and the details, but let's continue on. Oh, wow, that's a huge donation. Really interested in your take on how much of a chance PSG have to beat Rogue. Well, I think that's going to be... Well, is it perfect coming into the next day? Wait, there's no Rogue game the next day. Well, just because you gave me $10, I will add it to the video. I think the chances are very, very slim. I think Rogue is much better than PSG, and Rogue is a team that very rarely loses to teams that are below them in standings. I think Rogue as a team is good at drafting what's good for them, which doesn't mean it's the perfect optimized draft in the current state of affairs, but they always draft what's good for them. They don't really drop the ball, but at the same time, they are very good and precise in the way they approach the game. So I don't think PSG is going to have some fresh breath of air. I don't think it's going to happen. So I think Rogue, like 80% win is how I would put it. But that's a crazy number. But I don't know. I think Rogue is going to win. I would not put money on PSG. Looking at day 5 and looking at Team Liquid and G2 and the story of Suning, I think Machi X Esports can play spoiler. I think they're good enough to do that. I think the thing that they showed in the first day was exciting, but it has kind of died down, right? I think Gemini is good. I think there's a world where G2 completely shoot themselves in the foot again. Can happen. There is a world where G2 don't get out, right? I'm leaning towards they will get out, but there is a world where they don't get out. And something that we need to also think about is that they also have a decent chance of getting second place. Coming into the matchup G2 against Suning the second time, I don't think luck is going to be as much on G2's side. And I think in terms of snowballing the game, Suning are looking quite crisp. I think they have strong individual players. I don't think there's something there that you can abuse. And I think when they get opportunities to snowball, so FM and Sword Art are very, very good at capitalizing and leading the young Suning roster. So now if I look at G2 versus Suning, and I would look at the matchup again, I'm honestly leaning towards Suning. G2 need to change things up. And in a lot of cases, I would not be, believing in the idea of changing things up. But G2 is the team to do it. They have a lot of depth in terms of champion pool. I think they are very experienced players that can easily, see the issues of their ways. I think it is a team that is good at downloading opponents, and after playing once, usually the second time they play again, they do better. But it's such a large step in order to make it feel, for me, that it's a convincing win against Suning. Because I think the good things Suning did against G2 are much easier to replicate than what went good for G2. What went good for G2 in the Suning game? Very tough to replicate, besides Mickey's performance, Cap's performance, and of course Wound's performance. And these three players have been the most impressive for me when it comes to G2. Team Liquid versus G2, I lean G2. Because I think preparation can really cause damage to Team Liquid. And I think for those saying that they experimented and, tested things against Team Liquid, I think that's kind of disingenuous, because a 3-0 now would mean that they can potentially get away with losing against Suning. But there's a chance now that Suning goes 5-1, which looks likely. I don't think Team Liquid is going to beat them. I don't think MachiX is going to beat them. So that makes it tough. But at least in a world where G2 beat Suning, we're going to, have no tiebreaker because they will be 2-0. Another interesting tidbit is if Team Liquid beat G2, then G2's 2-2 becomes a lot less valuable, because Team Liquid would have the head-to-head in a potential tiebreaker. So if Team Liquid win this match, qualification for G2 becomes very, very difficult. Very hard. It means that they need to win one more game than Team Liquid. This game against Team Liquid that they lost might cost them the position of first seed, even if things go well. I just want you to, process that for a moment. It's very wild. So this first game is going to decide super, super much. And then, of course, the final game. I think anything that happens in between is whatever. Team Liquid versus Suning is also exciting. We would have to see Team Liquid in a light where they don't have so shitty matchups. Maybe the game against Suning is going to look different. But all in all, G2, if they want to guarantee first seed, they need to win all games. And I don't recall a world where having first seed was as important as this one. But you could get second seed and say, please God, put me up against GENG or Fnatic. That could be something. But if you're playing against Damwon or Top Esports, you're going out of the tournament. I know that a lot of fans are going to reference to G2 beat Damwon the last time. This is not the same Damwon and it's not the same G2. These storylines read differently. But I have to say that G2 Mickey X's performance has made me hopeful. Because I think Mickey is in top form. I think Caps is in decent form. I think he can play better than he's had. I think Wunder is in great form. Perks is a player that ramps up. And Jankos can do more too. But in the current form, if you told me, put money on the winner between G2 and Damwon or G2 and Top Esports, baby, I am putting money on Top Esports and Damwon. Mickey's form currently reminds me of MSI Mickey, which was a very powerful Mickey. Team Liquid, still the question remains, how are they going to look like without Orianna and Graves? It always happens. Team Liquid show a lot of good things. Like this game today was very good. A good game. I don't want to take anything away from that. But it was still with the Orianna and the Graves. So important champions. Yeah? Don't you remember how bad G2 was in groups last year? Well, I think the key difference there is that their path to that and that year in general, we had MSI, G2 won MSI, group stage, they still beat Griffin pretty convincingly. They had some fun games against Cloud9. I don't remember what the third team was, honestly, in that group. I don't know what the third group was. Cloud9, they walked over them. And then they lost 2 games against Griffin because they had a tiebreaker. Both teams were 5-1. And then I think their quarters opponent and their semifinals opponent was perfect. Hong Kong Attitude. So that was just the perfect path for them. Because I honestly feel that year, if G2 ran into an FPX or an IG, or maybe even a Griffin, but they can't, right? Because they come from the same group. I think maybe they would have ended earlier. But I think G2 is very good against teams that have a very specific way of playing the game. That doesn't replicate itself very, very well. Damwon that year, the year they got beat by G2, was Damwon had a very weak bottom side. They didn't have a 2v2 mid, and all Canyon did was cover up. He tried to hide the truth from everyone. He was like, guys, our bot lane is good. Look, they have a kill here. I gave them this kill, but nobody knows. That was what Canyon was doing. And then Showmaker and Noguri were like, okay, we are really good. We're going to try to do our best to take Klepto and to try to snowball the game on our own. that was Damwon's game plan. And Noguri and Showmaker were really good alone, but they had this mindset of playing in such a greedy way that definitely, is not something that is going to win you tournaments. Not at all. And G2 had wonderful preparation, great preparation. Their bot lane was in really insane form. People were saying that Mickey is better this year than last year, but Perks and Mickey together as a unit was really PogChamp last year. Really, really Pog. Caps, all he did was made sure he had a matchup that could push against Showmaker. They gave Caps push against Showmaker, and he knew he could push all the time because Canyon was never coming. And then the whole idea of Wunder was, I'm going to pick Jace away. Jace is good against Kale, good against Vladimir, and the enemy. and it was always a good matchup for Wunder. He was picking Jace. And then Caps was pushing, roaming into top, pushing, roaming into top, pushing, roaming into top. Not an excuse, but would G2 be hiding some of their strats? I think you really want to beat Team Liquid in this position. Because if they beat Team Liquid here, it means that there is a chance that they don't have to beat, I don't think this is the time for you to freestyle, unless they feel really confident that they're going to beat Suning. There's a world where the G2 goes 4-2 and gets second place. Someone asked about Doinby, about Genji's draft, and I agree. Like, I made the same point when we discussed it. I didn't like Renekton Nidalee. I think some teams can pull this off, but I don't think Genji is the one that is going to do it well. I think Genji is a mid and to bottom side team, and I think when they are playing it, they are definitely one of the better teams at this tournament. Definitely like top 5 in my eyes, when they're playing mid and to bottom. But if the draft isn't that, then kick W, Not kick W, but it looks rough. BDD was really insane here. BDD was crazy fucking good. I think BDD has been an absolute monster in groups. I love what I'm seeing from BDD. What a beast. For anyone asking questions about the other days, we're going to cover that as we are summarizing day 5. We're going to cover the next day and the next day and the next day. So please stay tuned for future videos. Once again, I repeat, this is going to be available on Spotify, Apple, podcasts, blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. Thank you so much. If you sneezed during this video, bless you and bless your face. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Please don't miss my reviews tomorrow. They're going to be done on stream. We're going to start very early in the morning. We're going to be here at 10 in the morning, same as usual Worlds times. We're going to pick up a few review games, and then I'm going to spend time with my beautiful girlfriend, because the last days during the World Championship, I have been neglecting her and our cats. Are you 55? Yes, I'm 55. Look at me, man. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me.